ජීවිතේ වැඩිපුර ලැබෙන හොඳම දේවල් විඳින්න. දැන් SLT broadband වෙතින් 75% දක්වා වැඩිපුර data සතුට ජනවාරි 1 වෙනිදා සිට ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම්.
At opposite ends, the United National Party plans to continue the unity government, but the joint opposition ready to support the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. The shake-up. Cabinet co-spokesperson Dr. Rajitha Senaratne reveals plans for a cabinet reshuffle.
There will be reshuffle.
Development avenues. Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade says the government has bigger plans for the information and communication technology sector.
In total, we will be investing over 300 million rupees on this over the coming year.
Being optimistic. Central Bank Governor says that the Central Bank decided to leave the policy rates unchanged and inflation rate is satisfactory.
And in December, inflation clearly came down and it's now within the target range.
A winning start. Sri Lanka comprehensively beats Bangladesh in the first T20. Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhampake Naika. Now let's get straight into the machinations of the Sri Lanka's political sphere following the recently concluded local authorities election. The parliamentarians of the United National Party earlier today decided to continue the national government. However, the joint opposition today decided to lend their unconditional support towards the establishment of a United People's Freedom Alliance government.
A group of UNP parliamentarians met Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe at Temple Trees today to discuss the issues arisen within the unity government. Speaking to media following the talks, the ministers and parliamentarians of the UNP said that it was decided to forge ahead with the unity government.
Everyone agreed to continue the government. Therefore, we took that decision. Everyone was of the stance that the structure and principles of the party should change. This government will continue like this. Some ministers of the SLFP who don't want to be in this government will leave it. They will leave and both the President and the Prime Minister agreed to continue the government led by the UNP. This is not a conspiracy. Some see this as a conspiracy. We are trying to get the party back on track. We are working to give what the members of the party want.
In the meantime, Minister Wajira Abeyewardene said that according to the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, the President is not able to remove the Prime Minister.
Only the Prime Minister has the power to step back and should write a letter and resign. The President has the power to appoint the Prime Minister, but the Constitution doesn't mention that he has the power to remove him.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Law and Order Sagala Ratnayaka says that he is ready to resign from his ministerial post for the benefit of UNP. The minister made the statement on his official Facebook page today and said that he informed the UNP parliamentary group that he has no intention of serving as the Law and Order Minister. The post says that he is ready to sacrifice any position for the party and will do the best for the betterment of the party. It further said that he informed the parliamentarians of the party that he is ready to fulfill any responsibility to serve the people of the country. In the meantime, a special meeting was held between former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and the parliamentary members of the joint opposition this evening at his Vijayarama residence.
When we get a clarification that these two parties will discontinue, we will make our decision. If he signs the letter and sends it now, it will take only 2 minutes for the Speaker to receive it. We are waiting for that. We have clearly told the President to appoint someone from the SLFP and establish the government. We will end our assistance for that. If our help is needed to establish a government, we will help unconditionally. Continuing a government without a mandate is difficult.
However, Deputy Minister Nishant Muthuhettigama said that there is a possibility of establishing a Sri Lanka Freedom Party government.
Mahinda Mahinda Rajapaksa continuously asked us to leave the national government and join them. Now we are ready to join them. We can't continue to govern with the UNP. 5 UNP members will join us.
In the meantime, the president of the Ceylon Workers' Congress, Nuwara district parliamentarian Muthu Sivalingam, was sworn as the Deputy Minister of Primary Industries. According to the President's media division, he was sworn in before President Maithripala Sirisena at the Presidential Secretariat today. In the meantime, a special meeting was held between the chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, President Maithripala Sirisena, and the party organisers.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය හැටියට වෙන වැඩක් කරගෙන යනවා. අපිට වැඩපිළිවෙල පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්න. අපේ ආණ්ඩුවක් හදන්න ඕනේ ඒකයි. ඒ කියන්නේ අගමැතිවරයා ඉවත් වීමක් සිදු වෙනවද? අපි කියලා තියෙනවානේ මේ අගමැතිතුමත් එක්ක අපි මේ ආණ්ඩුවේ ඉන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. අපිට ඒකාබද්ධ විපක්ෂ සහයෝගය ලැබෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ විදියට
The parliamentarians made a request to establish a government of our own if the UNP tries the same. We accepted the challenge.
වියෝගේ බාරගත්තා. ප්‍රතිඵලයක් නෑ. තව මෙහෙම කෙනෙක් නම් කළා නැහැ.
However, President Maithripala Sirisena will make a special statement on the prevailing political situation in the country tomorrow. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the joint opposition will assist the Sri Lanka Freedom Party to establish a government. The former president made this remark when he visited the Narahempita Abhayarama temple for a religious ceremony.
Absolutely. Although both UNP and SLFP say they will establish governments, the final decision lies with the president and then with us.
අනිවාර්ය වෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය ඉවත් වෙනවා නම් එතකොට මෙයාලට අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම සිද්ධ වෙනවා මේ කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ 30කට සීමා කරන්න.
Cabinet co-spokesperson Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne revealed today that there will be a government shake-up in the near future. Responding to journalists when asked about the actual situation of the government, Dr. Senaratne stated that the unity government will continue. The minister was speaking at the cabinet media briefing held today.
The cabinet media briefing was held today, and among the decisions taken is the approval of the establishment of a German Industry and Commerce Delegate Office in Sri Lanka with the objective of promoting economic activities between the two countries. The cabinet also approved to amend the Criminal Procedure Code Act, increasing the age of a child who is considered responsible for a crime up to 12 years. The cabinet also approved to amend the legislation regarding local government elections. Award of contract towards the procurement of 12 locomotives for the upcountry railway line was also among the decisions taken by the cabinet. Meanwhile, cabinet co-spokesperson Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne responded to questions raised by journalists.
Can you tell us what is the real situation of the government? Is the unity government going to continue?
Yeah, it is going to continue.
And what is going to happen to the cabinet? Is there a reshuffle?
There will be reshuffle.
And who is going to be the Prime Minister?
I am not the president to inform that.
Does it mean that President asked Prime Minister to resign?
No. Prime Minister resign, no. That impact has nothing to do with the villagers. That is for the urban educated class. But the media always spoke only on this bond case, not on any other corruption cases by other presidential commission. But the bond commission, every day one page was arranged for them to report the bond commission report. One full page, ball-to-ball commentary, everything was given. Nothing about the other commissions. So this was very adverse. The media reporting and certain medias were only attacking the Prime Minister on the bond issue. That affected. Our own people were exaggerating about the bond case and not talking about the loss or profit. They were just talking about corruption. So even our own government people accusing the government, that has a very high effect. Not like an opposition criticizing us.
Meanwhile, State Minister of Defence Ruwan Wijewardena also spoke on the proposal for a cabinet reshuffle. The State Minister touched on the subject when Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and several ministers visited the Hunupitiya Gangarama temple in Colombo.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was accompanied by Ministers John Amaratunga and Sagala Ratnayaka, and they engaged in religious observances.
We have not decided to change the position of Prime Minister. What we decided was that Ranil Wickremesinghe should be in the Prime Minister's post. We have also informed the idea to the President. We think that we will be able to show stability in the government within a few days. The entire cabinet will be reshuffled. That was the proposal.
Leader of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, parliamentarian Anukumara Disanayake, made his party's intentions clear today when he said that the JVP does not intend to form a coalition with any party. He made this remark at a media briefing held at the party headquarters in Battaramulla.
The JVP gained an increase of 170,000 votes. We guarantee our voters that we will safeguard the respect, value and the trust of their votes. Nobody has been able to establish 167 local authorities individually. Many parties have requested JVP MPs to support them. The JVP does not intend to form a coalition with any of them. Due to the recent election result, the instability of the country has become the talk of the town. After coming into power, President Maithripala Sirisena's intentions were on how to be re-elected as the president in the coming presidential election. The Prime Minister sketched a power plan on how to take up the position of the president instead of the Prime Minister in the upcoming presidential election. The country's fate today is a result of the plan for power followed by the president and the Prime Minister. We cannot change the position of the president nor dissolve the parliament through an election. One will receive a mandate in one election and that mandate will be nullified through another election.
Now, the chairman of the Election Commission emphasises the need to amend the Local Authorities Election Act in order to ensure 25% women representation in local authorities. He shed light on the matter during a discussion with representatives of political parties who contested the recent local authorities election.
A meeting between political party representatives and chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, was held last afternoon, centred on issues arisen following the local authorities election. After the conclusion of talks at the Election Secretariat in Rajagiriya, political representatives voiced their views to media.
Almost all the doubts we had about these issues were clearly resolved. I pointed out the fact that a party that got 45% of people's vote could get a share of 75% of the local bodies. The Tamil Alliance, which got 51% of votes, can only govern one authority. After holding an election at a cost of 4 billion rupees, if they fail to establish local authorities, it is a loss for the people. Therefore, we had candid discussions and decided that we have to fix these issues in the system.
In the meantime, Election Commission Chairman Mahinda Deshapriya elaborated on issues faced with ensuring 25% women representation.
An amendment to the Act will have to be made in the future pertaining to 25% women representation. In case a party is unable to appoint the relevant number of women representatives, that deficit should not become the burden of another party, and that's where the amendment is needed. There are some bodies where the party which came second is having to shoulder the appointment of all women candidates.
Chairman of the Election Commission Deshapriya also touched on the instability that sprung with the representatives of the independent group which won the Maharagama Urban Council being the residents of other areas.
The basic fact is that when a certain party or an independent group wins, we gazette their names. They should step down from the membership of the party before being appointed. The party can sack its members, but that can't be done in an independent group.
In the meantime, JVP too expressed views on the issue during a media briefing.
There should be a 25% women representation in a local body, but the same act mentions that lacking 25% women representation does not affect the operation of an authority. The intention of this election system is to increase the women representation to at least 25%.
The number of members of the local authorities went up from 4,486 to 8,356 under the new electoral system, and it is an increase of 3,870 local authority members. With this increase, the cost incurred by salaries also goes up. The question whether the government is prepared to shoulder the added cost was raised during the cabinet media briefing today.
පළාත් පාලන නියෝජිතින්න ගරු සේවයට දානවා කියලා ඊයේ කිව්වා.
නෑ ඒව නිකන් ඔය එක එක්කෙනා කියපු කතානේ එහෙම මොකක්වත් නෑ. ඒක තියෙන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ඔක්කොම පරිණඩි ඔක්කොම තියෙන්නේ පළාත් සභාවට.
කාශේ හින්දා මමතුමා චෝදනාවක් කියලා යන සමාජ ජාල වෙබ් අඩවිවල මේ පොහොට්ටුවට වැඩි ජයක් ගේ හින්දා මේ දේ කරේ කියලා. ඒක
එහෙම එකක් කළා නෑ. එහෙම දෙයක් නෑ. ඔය කතා ඔක්කොම.
Now, moving away from elections and politics, the owner of the company that was undertaking the renovations of the building which collapsed in Grand Pass yesterday surrendered to police today. Our correspondent said that he was released after the Grand Pass police recorded a statement. 7 people died when the building collapsed without warning yesterday.
7 people, inclusive of 2 women, died yesterday when a storage complex belonging to 2 private companies collapsed in Babapul Emawathe in the area of Grand Pass. The owner of the building was also one of the victims. Meanwhile, one of the injured was admitted to ward number 72 of the National Hospital in Colombo, while another woman who was gravely injured had to undergo a surgery last night. A spokesperson for the National Hospital stated that they had to amputate one of her legs. Meanwhile, officials have begun releasing the bodies of the deceased to their families. The last rites of Noor Nalim, one of the victims of the disaster, was held at the Maligavattam Muslim cemetery today.
Now, about a month ago, an unusual guest started frequenting the seas in the area of Bandaravatta in Balapitiya. A freshwater crocodile who keeps drifting into the seas of Bandaravatta not only caught the public's attention, but also tried to catch a tourist yesterday.
Over the last month, the freshwater crocodile has been drifting into the Balapitiya Sea from River Madhu and has been a cause for concern for local and foreign holidaymakers. Yesterday, however, those fears were realized when the croc tried to latch on to a tourist who went out for a swim. Following the incident, the crocodile was captured with the use of a fishing net by fishermen in the area.
Today I said maybe 4 or 5 meter long crocodile on the beach. It was a situation that's not very start to running out of sea to the beach.
I was in my terrace in this morning and I see a guest who was swimming, and near of him, 10 meters, was a great crocodile. He was coming toward him, and people in the sand, they say, "Hey, get back, get back, get back of the sea." And he get back of the sea, and the crocodile was... And after he go plus loin in the sea. And I see it no more.
Now let's take a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka's National Water Supply and Drainage Board warns of a 24-hour water cut on coming Saturday. It cited maintenance work on the main water supply line, which extends from the Ambatale water purification plant to Maligakanda as the cause for the measure. The water cut will come into effect from 9 am in Colombo 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. Colombo 12 and 13 will also see a shortage in its water supply. The Kalani Valley Railway line will be closed for 2 days owing to maintenance work. Additional General Manager of Sri Lanka Railways Vijay Samarasinghe stated that the Kalani Valley line will be closed from 8 am tomorrow until 4 am on Monday the following week. Ambassador for People Smuggling and Human Trafficking for Australia Dr. Jeffrey Shaw met Chief of Staff of the Navy Rear Admiral Neil Rosero at the Naval Headquarters in Colombo yesterday. During the discussion, they exchanged views on issues pertinent to people smuggling, drug trafficking, illegal fishing practices and discussed collaborative measures to address these transitional crimes. Sri Lanka's National Water Supply and Drainage Board warns of a 24-hour water cut on coming Saturday. It cited maintenance work on the main water supply line, which extends from the Ambatale water purification plant to Maligakanda as the cause for the measure. The water cut will come into effect from 9 am in Colombo 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, The Derana 24/7.
Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, reveals that both the Monetary Policy Board and the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank decided to leave the policy rates unchanged. The governor further stated that the fiscal performance of the first 11 months of 2017 was broadly satisfactory despite weather-related supplies. The governor made these statements at a media briefing on this year's Monetary Policy Review this morning.
We've seen an easing of inflation. We indicated that while headline inflation persisted at a higher level for longer than we expected. We indicated that it was driven by weather-related supply-side disruptions. And as those supply bottlenecks were addressed, we are now seeing inflation coming down. And in December, inflation clearly came down, and it's now within the target range. If you look at all the indicators, there were grounds for cautious satisfaction that the economy was stabilizing quite nicely. At a time when the global economy is gaining momentum and you're seeing a normalization of interest rates, particularly in the US, given that we are seeing international interest rates going up. In such a context, if we reduce our interest rates, then the differential between our rates and the international rates gets even bigger. In the first 11 months of the year, despite the flood and drought relief, the fiscal performance was broadly satisfactory. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank and the Monetary Board took into account, and on balance, the decision was taken to leave rates unchanged. Clearly, if you have prolonged political instability, you can't have accelerated growth and development. That is just not possible. The faster we can get political stability, the better. We will be enlisting the support of the Auditor General for the forensic audits. Then we will put out an RFP to all the major accountancy firms in the country, and we will ask them to put together teams which are led by somebody from outside Sri Lanka. So we have an entirely independent forensic audit.
Meanwhile, the governor responded to questions posed on recovering the losses incurred by the Employees Provident Fund.
We have frozen the accounts of perpetual treasuries to hold 13 plus billion. If the courts decide that we are able to recover that money on behalf of the EPF and other government institutions, then we will do so.
Now, Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade Malik Samaravikrama says that information and communication technology sector has a prominent role to play in the national export strategy. The minister made the remark at an event held at the BMICH this morning, adding that the sector is the fourth largest export revenue earner in the country.
The official brand launch of the Sri Lanka Information Communication Technology and Business Performance Management sector, organised by the Sri Lanka Export Development Board with Asian Development Bank using technical assistance funding from the Japan Fund, was held this morning at the BMICH. Addressing the event, the chief guest, Minister Malik Samaravikrama, spoke on the role of the sector.
The IT initiative envisaged in the budget 2018 and being implemented by the EDB will have complementary programs to help second-tier IT firms break into new global markets through a well-designed and well-governed champion builder program. The IT initiative will also support regional IT entrepreneurship and skills availability for the sector. In total, we will be investing over 300 million rupees on this over the coming year. I believe that together with the brand being launched today, these initiatives will drive the IT BPM export sector to $5 billion in 5 years. Sri Lanka has embarked on a new chapter in its economic development journey, and with the ongoing reforms in the macroeconomy, fiscal policy, trade policy, FDIs and overall business climate. Our ongoing reform efforts have resulted in exports of goods and services growing to $15.15 billion last year and an all-time high FDI inflow of $1.63 billion.
Saudi Arabia says that crude producers need to stick to production cuts throughout this year in order to rebalance the oil market. The kingdom's energy minister, Khalid Al-Fali, made the insistence yesterday during a meeting in Riyadh with his Russian counterpart when the two discussed closer cooperation in the energy sector.
Saudi said it will restrain its oil exports in March despite lower domestic need for crude, as the OPEC's leader is pushing to eliminate fully the global oil glut and combat worries about a new cycle of oil price weakness. Confirming a plan given earlier by industry sources, the Saudi Energy Ministry said the kingdom will keep its crude exports below 7 million barrels per day in March, despite a maintenance shutdown of the 400,000 BPD Samref refinery. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and outside producers, including Russia, are reducing output to get rid of a supply glut.
If we have to err by overbalancing the market a little bit, so be it, rather than quitting too early and finding out that we were dealing with less reliable information. So that's my inclination, is to stay the course and make sure that the inventories are really where the industry needs them.
Now to bring you a stock update, the Sri Lankan shares recovered today following 2 straight sessions of losses. The all-share price index ended 0.32% firmer at 6,553.21, hovering near its highest close since 8th of November, hit on Friday. Let's cross over to Mechi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange for a complete report.
The turnover was 878.06 million rupees, with 41.3 million shares changing hands in 7,668 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 3,000.13 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 287.22 million rupees and foreign sales were 289.51 million rupees. There were 2 crossings today and the crossing turnover was 55.15 billion rupees.
Now moving on to news from overseas, a former student unleashed a hail of gunfire in a Florida high school yesterday, killing at least 17 adults and children. The governor of Florida ordered government flags flown at half-mast till next Monday in honor of victims of the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, a public school of some 3,000 students.
At least 17 people are dead after a 19-year-old man opened fire at a high school campus in Parkland, Florida. Investigators believe the suspect pulled the fire alarm to draw people out of classrooms to increase the number of casualties. But the school already had a fire drill earlier in the day, leading some to think it was a false alarm. While some left the building, others sought cover in classrooms as the school went into lockdown and the gunman went on his rampage.
Holy... Oh my God!
The suspect has been named as Nicholas Cruz, a former student at the school who had been expelled, citing disciplinary reasons. 15-year-old Sarah Crisatelli described how she and her fellow students were hiding when the incident occurred.
Talking to each other, but everyone kept shushing each other, and just everyone was pretty scared, and some people were crying, and just people were trying to comfort each other and saying it was going to be all right, and that we were going to get out of here.
It is the 18th school shooting in the US this year, with the Everytown for Gun Safety Support Fund saying America has averaged 1 school shooting a week since 2013. Democratic Representative Jim Himes went on to say that the pattern will be perfectly predictable. He said there will be a moment of silence, people will wish everybody thoughts and prayers and sympathy for the victims, and then the Congress of the United States will do absolutely nothing.
Cyril Ramaphosa has become South Africa's president a day after embattled leader Jacob Zuma resigned. He was the only candidate nominated in Parliament today, so no vote was needed to make him president. MPs from the ruling African National Congress broke into song at the announcement. In a speech to Parliament, the 65-year-old Ramaphosa said that corruption was on his radar. Now, before the new president came to be, the long-expected resignation of South African President Jacob Zuma finally came when he addressed the nation last night. South Africa's ruling African National Congress party asked Zuma to leave office immediately, making it clear that a no-confidence motion will be brought against the head of state in Parliament today should he refuse to step down.
Jacob Zuma resigned as President of South Africa yesterday, reluctantly heeding orders by the ruling African National Congress to bring an end to his 9 scandal-plagued years in power. In a 30-minute farewell address to the nation, 75-year-old ZUMA said he disagreed with the way the ANC had shoved him towards an early exit but would accept its orders.
I must accept that if my party and my compatriots wish that I be removed from office, they must exercise that right and do so in the manner prescribed by the Constitution.
South African resident Moaditla Dinyane said it was about time Zuma stepped down so that the country can move forward.
Corruption has obviously been at the forefront of a lot of our problems. So I think it's a good decision from the ANC and from the Republic of South Africa. Let's just hope whoever comes in, whether it's Cyril, whoever wins the next election, can help us move the country forward.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Now moving on to sports news for the day, Sri Lanka comprehensively beat Bangladesh by 6 wickets today in the first of the 2 T20 internationals with 3.2 overs remaining. Bangladesh put on a formidable total of 193 runs for 5 wickets, batting first, but in the end, it was just too good by the Sri Lankans.
Rocket T20 series.
Bangladesh won the toss and chose to bat first today at Mirpur in the first of the 2 T20 internationals played against Sri Lanka. Soumya Sarkar and Mushfiqur Rahim were able to put on a 51-run partnership from just 38 deliveries. Mushfiqur, however, remained not out at the end on 61.
That's not good from Gunatilaka. 4 more. Oh, that's a sweet.
In reply, Sri Lanka came out all guns blazing with useful contributions from Danushka Gunatilaka with 30, Dasun Shanaka with 42 and Tissara Pereira remaining not out on 39 of just 18 deliveries. But the man who was brought in to replace the injured Kusal Janit Pereira, Kusal Mendes, was the man of the hour with his destructive knock of 53 of just 27 deliveries. He was adjudged the man of the match.
And today he's come back. He was not.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Let's cross over to Shanella Fernando at the Other Derana Weather Centre with your forecast first, evening edition.
Good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Your temperatures for tomorrow are to range between 20 and 31 degrees Celsius with the lows expected in the Central Hills. Well, looking at the map, a low pressure zone will form from the eastern region of the island and will gradually disappear. Well, tomorrow shows no signs of a sunny weather reported in the island as many areas of the country including Jaffna, Mannar, Colombo, Galle, Matara and Kandy as well as Negombo will experience showers and thunder showers. That's all we have from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. And before we go, as usual, we'd like to leave you with some enchanting visuals of Sri Lanka. And today, it's the country's southern belt. It attracts thousands of tourists who are in love with the waves, golden beaches, as well as flora and fauna in the region. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.